Hello, I'm Keyoka, the Awkward Black Nomad. I'm a writer, I'm a dog mom, and I travel solo. My channel is a place for me to talk about my experiences traveling solo with my dogs across Europe. I also bring other black travelers on my channel to talk about their experiences traveling and living abroad. If that sounds like something you are interested in, like the video, drop down in the comment section, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already subscribed, click the notification button so you are notified whenever we go live, whenever I have a new guest. I see there's some people filtering into the room. Black folk, we speak when we come into the room, so please tell us hi, drop down in the comments. And if you have any question for my guest tonight, put a Q in front of your question and I'll be sure to get to it during the live. Let me bring her up. Hello.
Hi, how's it
How are you?
going?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty cool.
Okay, so everybody, this is Janae. Janae, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Okay, my name is Janae. I go by Jay. I'm a creative freelancer living in LA, from LA, and I live in Morocco as well. I have been solo traveler for a while, and it's probably like one of the first digital nomads. No, I'm just joking. But
Not
yeah, I
not one of
was
the first.
since 2019, before the pandemic, before it was trendy. So yeah, just been navigating life and balancing being a guilt-free mom and an entrepreneur. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay. So let's hop into it. You said you were one of the first digital nomads. So have you lived in other countries? Like, what's been your
No,
experience?
okay. I'm just joking when I say I'm one of the first digital nomads, but I was calling myself that like back in 2018. So from there, I was just kind of like living bi-coastal in Atlanta and LA, um, and just working from a laptop and working remote where remote work wasn't really necessarily like very much so common back then. And then in 2019, that's when I left America. So now it's more common and popular to leave America post-pandemic, but I didn't spend pandemic in America. I was abroad.
You were brought where?
I was in Morocco.
Oh, okay, okay. So
Hmm.
we're gonna get more into Morocco. I'm always curious about people's experiences in 2020 during the shutdown, like because I've heard different things. So like some places you're like people are like, "Oh, it took a long time for us to shut down. Everybody was still doing things outside." What was Morocco like back in the pandemic time?
We didn't take any time to shut down. I got back from France maybe like the last week of February because I had to do a visa run. And when I came back, that's when they're like, oh, we're on curfew. I said, curfew? Like I didn't know that we were going to be on curfew. So hold on, sorry about that. Let me close this door. I'm like, I didn't know we were going to be on curfew. So we ended up being on curfew and literally like the first week of March, that's when I found out that we were like, oh, the borders are closed. And then 2 days after that, I was like, oh, I'm pregnant. Jesus. So
So you were
I
pregnant
had,
during that time.
yes, I had a true pandemic pregnancy. Like I have a real coronial, like a real corona baby.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, so definitely we'll get back to that. We have to get back to that.
right.
Okay, so what inspired you to first start traveling abroad?
Okay, so I took my first solo trip in 2016 and it was to go to Paris. I traveled before that to go to Dominican Republic and it was with group. Like I did a group travel, but I really noticed that that wasn't really like my style of traveling because I don't really enjoy resorts and stuff like that. I kind of want to like be amongst the people, eat the food, hear the languages and stuff. So when I had a chance to travel by myself, I was like, oh, okay, I think I prefer this over the touristic kind of way to travel. Like, so yeah,
Same.
yeah, and then honestly, a lot of my work call for me to travel. So was able to work in Bali, Cannes, Amsterdam. Um, and then from there, it's like I think in 2019, I went to like 5 countries within 1 year, and none of it like I actually had to pay for. All of it was through work. And people like,
Nice.
oh, you got good energy. Okay, what can you do? And let's see, we want to see your vision. We want your vision and your perspective on this kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's kind of like what inspired me to solo travel is because I wasn't really that into group travel.
Yeah, we have a lot of support in the chat for that. Yvonne says, "Same, sis, same." So over here,
Yes.
we're introverts. We like to spend time by ourselves. Over at the Black Nomad,
Right.
we're awkward for a reason. Um, Angela says, "I feel like everybody probably followed instructions better than the Americans.
I
Maybe."
agree. I agree. On my timeline, it was lit in America still. I mean, it was going up. I'm like, oh, y'all getting it cracking. I almost had a little bit of FOMO. Like, oh, we got the house parties lit. Oh, y'all have delivery. Y'all fast food places are still open.
Oh yeah.
Everything was shut down. Like, we didn't have any McDonald's wasn't open, Starbucks wasn't open. Like none of these places were open. So when they say essential, they meant grocery store, hospital, and people who had serious jobs. They weren't joking. They were not joking when they said essential workers. So
Wow. Yeah, they
yeah,
weren't playing games. Wow.
not at
Hi,
all. You
everybody.
had you had to have authorization to leave the home. Like you had to have a paper and stuff like that. And I'm like, how do I get this paper? I don't even know what this paper says. I don't even live here. My visa's about to expire soon. It was a mess.
But they didn't kick you out. It wasn't
Mm,
like, oh, we're shutting down. You have to go back to your country. No.
mm,
Okay.
Thank God.
Cool. Cool. So when you first started traveling, did you have any kind of like fear and anxiety about going by yourself?
Not really. I think that a lot of times people project their fears on you and you can choose to adopt them or not. And I chose not to because I'm like, well, I think I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do. And I just wasn't scared. I feel like I'm not green. I'm aware of my surroundings. I'm aware what I have to do. We have phones, so it wasn't really anything to be scared about. Like, you'll meet somebody. And I feel that when people travel by themselves, they really find out who they truly are. And it gives you space to really be who you really are. And, like, you don't have to worry about, oh, my homegirl doesn't want to go do this, or, it's just you really get to be you and sit within your own self. So I wasn't scared.
That's true. That's very true. But I mean, it does take a lot to get to a place. Like, even if you're like totally comfortable being on your own, it does. If you've never traveled abroad before, I feel like it's a big leap to say, okay, I'm just gonna go and leave everybody, and I don't know when I'm coming back. Unless,
That was me.
yeah, yeah.
That was me. People like, when you come back? I'm like, girl, I don't know. Because actually, I started my journey in Amsterdam. I lived there for about like 30, no, 90 days. So about 3 months. And I just kind of was like doing Reiki treatments, sound healing through Ganawa music and stuff like that. So it was a pretty spiritual journey. And I almost went through my own like quiet time. Like I didn't really speak during those couple of months. It was like a moment of silence for me. So that's why when COVID happened, I'm like, wow, I just came out of my own quarantine. Now we going another quarantine? And so,
That's
yeah, it was a
the
lot.
universe. That's the universe
Mm,
saying, sit down. That's what's going on
exactly.
from the universe.
Exactly.
Um, okay, so then how did Morocco get on your radar?
So I told you I was living in Amsterdam. Moroccans were the one that were hosting me. So at the time I was in Holland from October to December. And me being from LA, I'm like, I want to see sun. Everybody wear gray and navy blue. It's cold. My lips ashy. I want to get out of here. And so they're like, well, let's go home. Let's go home. They kept saying like, let's go home. I was like, okay. I'm like, where is home? They're like, Morocco. I saw how cheap the tickets were. I was like, oh, y'all been holding me down for a minute. I'll get the tickets for us, like that. And I think at that time it was like
Or-
$65.
But these were like when you were in Amsterdam, you were able to build a community there, or these were like people through the
Well,
job, or
these were people. Okay, this is so funny. This story's so long. I met his name is Rustavi. I met Rustavi in over the phone like when I was in Cannes. So this girl, when I went to London, she's like, "Oh, I think that you would connect with my like." She was calling her like her mentor. I think you would be good to connect because I was going through like some dark space where almost like getting like blacklisted from the industry because like I didn't want to perform certain things and to be involved in certain activities. So I kind of like didn't know my space. And I'm like, wow, do I press charges? Do I sue? Like sexual harassment, what's going on? And then I just kind of needed somebody to talk to. And they were like, just lay it down. Like, like you'll find more peace by just removing yourself from the situation. So him and I were like just talking, and we were like, he was talking about this like now music and about this history about Morocco and Kano, Nigeria. So it was really interesting to me, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I've never been to Morocco before. I don't even know where it's at. And so then like we go to Morocco, and then like I stayed there for like 4 years. Yes.
it'd be like that.
Yes, I had one
Okay.
carry-on suitcase and I lived off of that for about 4 years.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
There are people now who are trying to figure out what to do with a house full of stuff.
just leave it behind. I
Just go
mean,
ahead and leave it behind.
that's what I did. I'm just like, I mean, you can't have a physical, you shouldn't really have emotional attachment to things, right? And I'm also a minimalist. So that was on my journey. Like, I left behind a whole apartment before, like when I say literally left behind a whole apartment, I'm talking about bed, TV, because it's just like, finding this headspace to figure out where is all this stuff gonna go and da 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 da. This is when I was moving to Atlanta. It just was too much for me, and I'm just like, well, I'll just pay for all this stuff. I'll just figure it out later. If I need it, I'll need it. If I don't, then it'll leave from me. So I just didn't
Yeah.
have an emotional attachment to things.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like sometimes it can be very overwhelming having to decide what to do with stuff. And then a
Hmm.
lot of people will let their possessions hold them back from just living the life they want. Like you could be freer with less, but you haven't unburdened yourself yet from all of your possessions. So yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. So when you were in Morocco, what city did you stay in? Or did you
I
kind of
lived
move
in
around?
Marrakesh. No, I lived
Marrakesh?
in Marrakesh, but I visited Essaouira, Agadir, and I've been to the desert before. I've been to like little small cities, but mainly Marrakesh. Marrakesh has my heart.
Okay. So I guess when you first started traveling, it was just kind of okay, I'm going to different places, I'm working with different opportunities. But when your friends and family back home realized that you were going to be staying in Morocco longer than they probably expected, because I mean, 4 years is a long time. What was the response like? What did they say? Did they come and visit you?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. I think only I've had maybe about three. I have had one family member to visit me. It's my sister. And that was when I was the day that I had my baby is she came. So no, people didn't. I mean, I think it's far. And I guess I didn't realize how far that it was because I'm just like, oh, it ain't that far to me. Just get on the airplane, go to sleep. So and then
You were
also too,
in
I think a
Europe
lot of
though.
people. Exactly. But even then, like when I did go back to visit like my mom and stuff like that in LA, especially to me being in LA, it's really far. Just LA is far from everything. So yeah, it was, they just were like, she's crazy. She's crazy. And this is something that she would do. This is something that she would do. And I'm just like, she really like a nomad. Like, she really a nomad. So yeah.
So, the first moment you touched down in Morocco, what did you have any expectations? And then how did reality compare with those expectations?
I didn't have any expectations, honestly. I got there in December and I was like, wow, I would love people to like, it's so beautiful here. I would love people to I would love to get people to come here and visit and just, have fun, have a vacation. So how could I try to invite people to come here, but in a way where I'm not necessarily like a travel host, but like I just wanted to know how could I bring people here? Because it was so magical for me. Like when I was living out in Holland, I had like a Reiki treatment and then I had a vision. And when I had my vision, I saw myself pregnant and I saw this bald headed man with a beard kissing my belly. And I'm like, okay. So when I
So
saw him in
specific.
real life, very specific, when I saw him in real life in Morocco, I was like, what the heck? Like I saw this person in a spiritual realm and now it's popping up in a physical realm. And then shortly after that, literally maybe like 3 months after me even knowing him, I was pregnant. So
I
it was almost
literally,
like,
if I ever see a vision like that, I would walk away from every single bald man with a beard that I see. I would run from every single bald. I'd be
but
like,
it's
look, I don't know
crazy.
what the I don't know what y'all sending to me. I didn't co-sign for this. Like return the sender.
Yeah, for real. I was like, okay. I'm like, wait. And then for him to be like this chocolate dark skin man with a beard, it was so specific. And when I say so specific, I'm like, this is
She
like,
said, "Okay, universe, listen,
yes,
like,
literally,
you better receive
seriously,
it."
period. And it was my prayer too, because I was like, I'm ready to start a family. Like, I wanted to start a family. I wanted to see myself, I wanted to envision myself like taking care of someone because I feel like I had reached my peak. Not necessarily my peak, but it was like, well, what's next? I'm traveling, it's kind of getting boring, like what's next for me? So, yeah.
The peak of that cycle, that stage in your life.
Yeah. You said what
Not
was the peak?
No, I said you had reached the peak of that stage in your life. So you're ready for like the
Yeah.
next challenge, the next peak.
Yeah.
Hmm. Angela says you can't outrun destiny.
You really can't, no matter what.
I would try. That would scare me. I'm not even kidding you
No,
because
it is scary.
that would scare me. So like I'm from New Orleans and like we believe in all that stuff. So like anytime
Yes.
I see, let me tell you, that would scare me. I would be on the phone with my sister, like burning candles. We would I'd be like, girl, I don't want it. But but it is true. Like when the universe sends you messages, you have to listen.
Hmm.
So was there anything that kind of surprised you? Was there any like culture shocks? Because you were there for 4 years, so I imagine.
A culture shock. Yes, everybody in hijab. Nobody speaks English. They speak French. So I'm like, oh my God, I really felt like an American, you know?
Mm,
Like, I don't know how to describe it like that, but like how Americans are portrayed on TV, kind of like unaware, a little bit ignorant. I legitimately feel like that. And I'm just like, how do I adapt? Like, what do I do? So I just use my phone and just start translating. And I'll just try to speak things that I hear. I'll try to mimic it. I still can't speak any other languages, but the phone
sure.
works. The phone is great.
I thought for sure you were gonna be like, and that's how I learned French.
I know, right? Let me down.
Okay, so language, were there any like customs or traditions that you kind of had to get adjusted to?
Um, Not necessarily. I would say not accustomed to, but I would say that I adopted. So like let's say when I heard the call for prayer, I noticed that they would always turn the music down or they would like stop what they're doing. And I'm just like, what is this about? Like, why are they just stopping? And they're like, well, just to give reverence so people can hear the call for prayer and stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's cute. So then I start doing that. And then it would be like I noticed that maybe a lot of people were giving me money or things and stuff like that with their right hand. I'm like, okay, how come everybody giving me money with their right hand? And like, well, that's the hand that you're supposed to use and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, what's the left hand for? And they're like, the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then another thing that I enjoyed is that, like, me, I love food. I love community over food. And I love how we just all ate from like one dish. So that was something new for me because in the beginning, I'm like, oh, God. But then I'm like, wait, this is actually really good. This feels like I'm breaking bread with my brethren, like in literal terms. So I feel like those were the biggest things that like shocked me the most.
Okay. I'm going to skip all of my questions and talk about the food. What's your favorite Moroccan dish? Because
Okay, the tagine with the lemon and citron. That or citron, olive and citron, or lemon and olive. I'm saying the citron in French. Yes. So the tagine is like a chicken quarter, and then it has like different spices in it. It's like made from a clay pot or like some sort of clay, and then it's just like you tower it up and then you cook it slow. That is my favorite dish. Like I don't really like when they put the other vegetables on it, but with the lemon confit and the olives, the green olives with the bread and the harissa. Oh my God. And the
I
tea.
love the
Jesus.
lamb. Let me tell you, I'm
Ooh, with
vegetarian.
the prunes.
But I love lamb. Oof, bless it,
The
bless
lamb
it.
with the prunes, those prunes, that's a good one too. That's a good one.
So did
But let's
your
not talk about
diet have
food. Let's not talk about the food. Let's not talk about food. I got one more hour
it's
before Ramadan.
Ramadan. It's Ramadan.
Let's talk
My
about
bad,
I
my
got
bad.
one more hour.
My bad. I won't make you hungry. I don't want to make you hungry. But so walk us through kind of like what a typical day looked like for you in Marrakesh.
Okay, so slow life, glamorous life. I literally will, like wake up, I'll make waffles from scratch because I really learned how to cook from scratch living abroad. Um, After that, after I cook dinner or breakfast, I'll go for a walk and maybe like find a coffee shop to like work from. And then after I do my coffee shop and work, maybe after that, I probably go out to eat at like a restaurant or something, go home for dinner. Just pretty slow, like a really slow life. Like maybe I'll hang out, maybe my neighbors would invite me out. And then when I had a child, of course that changed because I just was being a mom. So
Yeah. Um, what was your experience like making friends? Obviously, you knew at least one person,
yeah, I
and then you knew
did.
another person, but that person
And
was
then I knew a
amazing.
lot of
Uh-huh.
people. Like at first I knew one person. I know two people, and then I knew like a lot of people. I started meeting like some pretty heavy hitters in Morocco. And then I'm just like, oh, you guys are really cool. And then I started meeting like High Priestess, and then I started meeting like the healers of music. I'm like, okay. And then I actually went on Instagram and I was like searching the hashtag Black in Marrakesh or Black girls in Marrakesh because it wasn't really a lot of like I didn't really see a lot of like sub-Saharan African girls that spoke English. I didn't really see that there. And so I just went on Instagram and I just looked for it through a hashtag and I found this girl. Her name was Helen. And she was like a model. And I'm like, okay. So the friends, I actually got gained a lot of friends. And even when I found some girl that spoke English, her name is Heba, which I'm really close to her still. I was like, oh. Okay, I got people that speak English out here. So and then they just start introducing me to their English people. And then like when I would go out and I would hear people speaking English, especially Americans, I'll be like, oh my God, who are you guys? And they're like, oh, we watch The Bachelor. Come over. And I'm like, I would love to. I don't even watch TV, but let's do it. So
So
friends, it was pretty easy.
what kind of like events would you go to, or what kind of things would you do? Is it like
Drinks on the
clubs or
rooftop.
okay,
Really, restaurants, like fancy restaurants. Like, that's my jam. I'm not really a club kind of girl because I'm not really a huge drinker and I don't really like partying. I be getting overstimulated really quickly. So, I'm not really a
fair.
clubber, but a coffee shop, catch me at a nice restaurant with good food, catch me there with good ambiance. So, it was mainly like places that had like nice vibes, basically.
So is it common for people like if you're at a restaurant, is it common for people to come up to you and talk to you? Is that how you met people or
No, I would just be going up
no?
to them.
Oh, you would go up to them.
If I heard them speak, okay, like let's say for instance, I met my two friends, Dylan and Danley. They're a couple, and they're actually married. They're married, and I'm like, hey guys, like I hear you guys speaking English, and they're like talking to me. I'm like, okay, I don't really have any like American friends out here. Like, who do you guys like? Where are the Americans here? And then they're like, oh, there's like a bunch of us here. And then I'm like, oh, so then you meet one of them, and then you meet a lot of them. And I'm just like, ah, this was really cool. So it wasn't really. I mean, I don't think I have problems with meeting new people, even though I'm pretty much I have social anxiety sometimes, but a lot of times people gravitate towards my energy or something. They're like, they ask me something, I don't know. So maybe they're like, "Oh, is that good?" And then they'll start off a conversation with something, or, uh, "Do you know where I could find," you know? So it'll be like just different stuff.
Okay. Do you think
Hmm.
that like so it seems like a lot of the interactions were with people who spoke English, but do you think that like local Moroccans, obviously maybe the ones that spoke multiple languages, were they welcoming to you? Were they,
Yes.
yeah?
I've been to so many Moroccans home that we didn't ever understood each other, and I'm in their house. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they would invite you to be like, okay, you want to come over for dinner? And I'm like, okay, I can do that. I'm down. Me and my baby, we went out to the village side with our neighbors and stuff. They don't speak any, like, speaking only Darija, literally. And I'm just like with them, but I don't know. I think that sometimes the language is not really necessary. It's more so about how you feel about this person. And, like you could just feel their spirits more so versus what they sound like.
Mm, that's fair. That's fair.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but what was your experience like as a black woman? Do you feel like it was any different than the other places you've been to?
Yes. Okay. I feel like other places that I travel, it was kind of hard for me to like fit in. Like I'm black and I'm not white passing at all. So, but I will say is that like my American accent gave me privilege. Um, and so it's like, and sometimes with that privilege, it's not like always, if you have American privilege, some people just view you as like snobby, or it can get too much because it's all like say for instance, when I went to Bali, they just want to take pictures of you and you're almost like glorified and glamorized a little bit too much where it's uncomfortable. It's like, okay, this doesn't feel real, but they're like, well, we only see black people on TV. You know what I mean? So it's almost like they view you as a celebrity. But in Morocco, it wasn't really like that. It was more so like, okay, we know that she's American and she's cool, but I don't feel like I felt out of place. If anything, I just, I mean, I used my American privilege and I felt more privileged in Morocco than any other place, but it wasn't like in a weird way.
Mm, okay, that makes sense. Could you talk
Mhm.
to kind of like the cost of living? Like,
Right now, I pay $800. Well, I'm gonna just round that number up. About $800 in rent for a three-bedroom, two bath. Um, it's pretty big. I have two stories. My last apartment, I had about four floors. Like it was the first floor, then it was the second floor, and it was my daughter's floor, and then it was my floor, and it was like a rooftop. And we paid like 500 for that. And then my first apartment, I paid 600 for a two-bedroom, and this is from the span of 2020 to about 2024. So I feel like the cost of living is like I can't get a room in LA for 800. For 800, I probably could go live with my mama.
so then obviously you like know people there, you're like in the community, but if you're an outsider sort of coming or going to Morocco and they want to find like affordable accommodation, do you have any recommendations?
Yes. Me, of course, because I can help you out. But there's this girl I follow on Instagram. Her name is, I can't think of it right now. Um, wow. I can't think of her name right now. If I close out of this, will it close?
Don't close out of it. We'll add it
I'm
in,
like,
we'll
I
add
really
it in
want
the
to.
comments later. Add it in the comments
Yes,
later.
exactly. But she's actually trying to get people who want to invest into Morocco to have like rental properties and stuff like that. And there's Facebook groups that you can check out. Like this Facebook group that I went into is called like like Marrakesh or like Tui Pass or something like that. It's like a couple Facebook groups that you could go find housing and stuff in. And of course, when it's online, it's advertised more. Like online, my house probably would have went for like 1,200 online, but because it was I knew the person and it was like through a realtor like that I already knew that I was able to get like local pricing. And I will say that that's kind of important because when we move to places that we're not from, it's always best to try to figure out what the community around us is paying and what are people paying so that when we move there, we're not like skyrocketing rent prices and stuff and now making the place unaffordable for them to live, you know? Like, so yeah, I'm like, I can't pay, even though if like, okay, even if you could afford $1,200, maybe that might be a little bit too high to pay. You know, like depending on what it is and where you are, because then if you do that, then what does that do? That's just you're gentrifying a space essentially. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't really doing that and like finding places to live were like ethical. Like, okay, maybe I want to rent from a Moroccan. I want to make sure that my neighbors are Moroccan, you know, so that I'm able to kind of just like not be like a like settle in with like a like like a colonizer through settling. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm just settling here. So yeah.
But did you ever feel like you were getting a price that was inflated because you're American?
Of course, they always try you, but it's just like, bro, please, I will not. Like, what's the halal price? I will always ask them, or I'll be like, Hoya, la la la, Hoya, la la, and they'll be like, oh, and they'll say something, and I'll be like, Fimti shuya drija, meaning I understand a little bit of drija, and they just keep talking, and I'll be like, you gotta come down on the price, cause what is that? And then they'd be like, okay, okay. So I think like when you go places, if you try to like adapt with the culture and try to like speak the language, then they're like, oh, okay, come down a little bit on the price. So, but for the most part, I just would refuse to pay it. Like, cause it's like, I'm not going to do that. You could try another tourist. I'm not doing that. Cause I know the real price of stuff. Like,
You have to haggle in Marrakesh. That you have to haggle, go back and forth
you do,
within
but you
reason.
could exactly. And I remember I just learned call your price. Whatever price you want to pay is a price that you want to pay. And that's the final price. And if they don't want to give you that price, then you just walk away. So, and me, I don't have time. Like, cause of course, I don't know if you ever have you been to Morocco? Yes, you have. Cause you talk about the lamb and
Yeah.
the prunes. Um, you have to like haggle, but also you don't. Cause you have to think about it. When you're in tourism and stuff like that, that's all that business is. That's how they feed their families by those sales and stuff like that. So they're gonna, all right, what you got? All right, okay, what you have? Especially too. So it's like, no, if I don't want to pay that price, I'm just gonna go somewhere else. And the further deeper you go, or the more people you talk to, the better prices you get. So yeah, I wasn't haggling.
Like I think too, like when you travel, I feel like Americans have this stigma on them that we're like rolling in money and that we just throw it,
Yes,
which we low key we do. Like we spend crazy amounts of money on things at a drop of a dime. So like people so people will see
guilty.
that in a foreign country and be like, "Oh, American? Oh,
They got it.
she gonna pay my rent for the month. She's gonna like really." And they'll charge you, a crazy price to them, but to you, you're like, "Oh, it's so affordable." Because it's not because you're
Exactly.
constantly comparing it to U.S. prices. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's how people get
Yeah,
over, child.
that is so
Yvonne is
true.
asking, "Are you a practicing Muslim now? If so, how long did it take you to acclimate to the religion?"
I don't have any religion, but I think that it is important to fast, detox, pray. So, I'm not a practicing Muslim. I think that is the religion that makes the most sense for me personally, but no, and then it's a how long yeah. I feel like but I do feel like I practice certain parts, like about the right hand thing. I think that's like a Muslim culture, like culturally done in the Muslim spaces. And then like, I don't like wear hijab or anything like that, but I do still like really respect the religion and stuff like that. Cause I feel like it's a peaceful religion and they'll take care of you. Like they really look after their brethren, like your neighbors and stuff like that You won't go hungry. Like in a Muslim community, like it's very rare for you to do that because they really do take care of the people and stuff like that. And it's almost like it's like part of their religion to do that. I think it's part of everybody's religion, but I think they really hone in on like making sure that they help out people and stuff.
Do you feel like it's easier to kind of acclimate to Islam while you're in Morocco as opposed to like now being in LA? Because I imagine like the call to prayer is so loud that it's just like, oh, everybody else is. Let me also.
But you know what's crazy is that I would take the call for prayer over helicopters, sirens, and ambulances. And like those noises and those like sounds, sounds have a energy that they put you in. So if you hear helicopters, ambulance, you always are in a state of panic. You know what I mean? Like I had to detox myself and like kind of get used to peace and silence because I'm like, oh my God, I don't hear anything. Is something okay? Everybody okay? Is it safe? You know what I mean? Because it's like I don't hear these noises. So the call for prayer honestly is like it made me feel at peace. And then just how like the city kind of calms down, you just feel like, "Ah, okay." So yeah.
Yeah. When I visited Marrakesh, I was there at like the tail end of Ramadan, and it was a ghost town. Like,
Yes.
it was phenomenal because you get to explore places like by yourself. There's nobody there, but then
Hello.
at nighttime the place lit up. Like, it was
Yes.
amazing. Everybody was
Yes.
outside, kids were outside,
Yes.
everything, like
Yes.
the food it was phenomenal.
Yes.
And I think also because it was very hot, and then at nighttime it cools down.
Hmm.
It just
And
everywhere,
also
like, you
too,
could feel the
you break your
city.
fast. Your
Yeah.
fast is breaking. So it's like maybe you at home and you cleaning, you praying, and you're just inside and not eating for 13 hours and stuff like that, talking and make you hungry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll come out when the sun goes down and we could just, kind of do back what we normally do. So
Yeah. It was
yeah.
amazing. Okay, so let's talk about your experience being pregnant. So you're in Morocco, it's the pandemic going on.
Yes.
Set the scene. What was it like?
Okay. So the borders just shut down 2 days ago. I take a pregnancy test and I find out that I'm pregnant is positive. I go and talk to my child's father. He like, oh, congratulations. And I'm like, oh, congratulations. Like that was random. I'm like low key nervous, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to go home. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Is this about to be a mess? I was kind of panicking. And then when he said congratulations, I was like, okay, well, at least I feel like I got somebody that'll be like interested in having a kid, Because sometimes when you be telling men that you're pregnant, they be like, deuces, girl, be peace out. So I was happy that he wasn't like that. And then I had a phenomenal pregnancy and I enjoyed that you get to go to the Marjorie Gardens for free being pregnant. So it's just like you get to walk around
There
beautiful
are
gardens.
parks,
Yes. 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 And
amenities.
so yes, exactly. And too, while I was being pregnant, everybody just worshiped me in a sense. I'm like, oh, I feel like a queen here. Like when I tell you I didn't have to really do anything, I'm like, oh, if you want to be pregnant, go to Morocco because they'll treat you like royalty. Like pull the chair out for you, even if whether you by yourself, even if you got your man with you, they don't care. They see pregnant and they say, okay, we're gonna bless you and stuff like that. Let you go first. And I'm like, okay. When I had gave birth, it was like I remember it was November 25th. I did not want to go to the doctor's appointment because I'm like, well, I want to go to the gardens for free one more time. My little sister's about to come out here. So I'm going to skip that doctor's appointment. She was like, well, let's just go. I think you should go. I'm happy that I went because when I did go there, that's when I had found out that I was about, I never dilated, but my daughter's heart rate had dropped down to like a 26. I don't know if y'all know, but typically when you're pregnant, you have over 100 for your baby. So when I look back at the screen, I said, wait, that says 26. And I'm like, that's not right. Then I saw the number get higher, but it never went above 77. and I felt very scared. And then it was just like my doctor, who I was normally going to, she wasn't there. So they like I told Denham's dad, like, come in. We need to talk to you. He's like, okay, you have to have the baby today. Like tonight. You need to go to the hospital to go deliver the baby. And I'm just like, what?
How far
Like,
along were you?
I was 9 months. I was due.
Okay.
I was just
Okay.
like, what is this? Like, I'm so confused. Like, like I don't have contractions. Like, I'm great. I feel okay. And they're like, no, the baby's heart is not okay. Go to the hospital. And I remember I had one go, I was just like, but mind you, I ain't never had no baby before, so I don't know how serious this is. They're like, go eat dinner and go come up meet us at the hospital. So I was like, okay, I'll pack my bag. I go to the grocery store, pick up my noodles or whatever. And I'm kind of like BSing a little bit with my god sister. They call me, my doctor called me. She like, hey, where are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm at the grocery store. I'm about to wrap up. She's like, this is an emergency, so maybe you should try to like come now. I was like, oh, it's an emergency. And she was like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I lived really close to the hospital. I'm just walk, like, so I walked to the hospital. And when I walked to the hospital, I got there. I see my midwife. She just come in her. She was at the cutest outfit on, fire ass leather jacket. Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to curse, but fire leather jacket. I'm like, okay. She fist bumped me. I'm like, okay, what's up? Next thing you know, she come back in her scrubs. I say, wait, what's happening here? What's about to go on? And they were waiting for I just see like people kind of getting ready. It kind of felt frantic a little bit. So I'm kind of confused, like what's happening? And when my doctor came, she was just like, your baby's heart rate is not okay. We need to deliver the baby now. And I'm like right now? And they're like, yeah, I'm like, but can you guys just like, can I get some like Pitocin to try to like make me go into labor? And she's like, we don't think that she has enough time to come through the birth canal, because when you give you that medication, that makes the baby heart rate could go down even lower. And so I was like, okay, I remember I was like crying. I called my mom. Like they said I have to have a C-section. They said I have to have a C-section. I'm like, I have to have a C-section in another country. And the only person that's here was my little sister Kendra and Denham's dad. And I'm just like, I was just confused because, okay, I'm gonna get a little emotional. I won't cry.
I'm
But
about to cry.
I was sad
I'm about to
because like
cry. Oh my gosh.
I was really anticipating to have like a water birth. And like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm crying. I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's almost like my dream birth, like it just died. And I'm like, a C-section, like during my whole pregnancy, I avoided everything to learn about C-section because I'm like, I just don't want to manifest it. Like, like I just don't want that. And the fact that I like had to do it. And I kind of like at the end, I kind of like grieved my labor. And my daughter 4, and I still cry about my labor because I felt like I didn't get a chance to experience it. Like my cervix never, it was all like, it never got like soft, like I never dilated. And it was like having to have like a major surgery like that without, like my family and stuff around. It was scary. Like it was very, very scary. And like, alhamdulillah, thank you God that my baby was delivered safe, but it happened so fast. Like when they told me, when I got to the hospital, like she's like, oh, take a picture of your of your belly. Within less than an hour, it was like from the time I got to the hospital to the time my baby was out, it was less than an hour. So it was like a real emergency. And I'm like, I'm over here just at the grocery store, not even knowing. And here, my baby heart rate just dropping. And I'm just like, oh my God, So I felt really sad because I had to have a C-section and I wasn't really expecting that. And I just didn't want that. And I was like preparing to have like the first water birth in this new facility that they had just created. So eventually I just learned that that was like my ego wanting that, and that
You're
I
texting
had to
is
learn.
ridiculous.
Yes. And
Sorry, she's like, woo woo woo. Trying to make you laugh. I'm sorry. I'm somebody that will cry with you. I can't make you feel
oh
better.
my
I'm gonna cry
God.
with you. We can send on
And
it.
I'm just like, It's just crazy because I really grieve my labor. Like, like I'm
Well,
happy
it
that I
was your
have a
first time too, and you
it
were
was
by
my
your
first time and I was
yeah.
abroad and I had to have a C-section and I just heard only horror stories about C-sections. So
Mm.
I'm like, I felt kind of like I failed at labor, because it's like I never got a chance to try. I don't to this day, I don't know what a contraction feel like, you know? And while someone would be like, girl, you lucky. For me, I'm just like, but wait, what happened? Like, but I feel like that was like a healing because maybe she didn't need to come through my womb. You know what I mean? Maybe the healing was about like cutting generational curses and stuff like that. So maybe she had to just come out of me like that, but it happened so quick. I remember my friend London had made me a playlist because I had like a playlist that I wanted to create, like that she created for me. So when I was in labor, that I have the proper music. So I'm telling my Denim's dad, like, put the song on, play the playlist while they prepping for everything. And it was just like crazy. And when she came out, it was to Brown Skin Girls by Beyonce. So I was like, this not the song I wanted. What happened to the other song? But that's the song that she decided to hop
In
on out of.
surgery,
So in
right? She picked
surgery,
her
yeah.
own song. She picked her
She
own song,
did. I'm
right?
like,
And
girl,
we are happy that Denim is
what a
here and
Stevie.
she is healthy, child.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And she's a great kid. Like, yeah, that girl, I'm like, now why you want to come through this way? But whatever. You choose your stuff. That's how you want to come in the world. It's fine. I'm okay with it. But yeah, like it was a hard time after because it's like, again, that grief that I had of my labor and still now. And that was 4 years ago. So it's like, I absolutely enjoyed my pregnancy. I even enjoyed even after the C-section was over. Like my scar is so cute, it's small, you can't even see it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, okay, y'all did y'all thing. Like, like she gave me stretch marks and a little body dysmorphia, but I'm working through that, working through
We can work through
it.
that. We got a healthy baby. We can work through the rest of that.
Exactly.
Reclaim Black
Exactly.
Motherhood says that grief is so real, been there times two, and it's rough sending hugs.
Woo. No,
Yeah,
seriously. Seriously. It
that's
really
hard.
is. And I feel like I just don't expect me to be. I think like I was even like searching like where are the C-section moms at because and then that's when I found like a lot of my friends had C-sections. I'm like, oh girl, I didn't even know. And they're like, yeah, it is challenging. And then like the healing process after because it's like my friends that did give vaginal birth, the next 2 days later, they okay. And here I gotta be down for 6 weeks. But at week 8, oh, we was to the Sahara. We went 10 hour, took that 10-hour bus ride with my 8-week-old baby, and we went to the desert. Okay, went down to the desert.
No baby
Like,
moon in the desert.
yes, exactly. Well, it wasn't a baby moon. It was more so like a little vacation, and it was interesting too because while I was there, I also lost during that same week of me being in the Sahara, I lost my grandmother, my uncle, and my aunt within like 3 days from each other. And this is not like, oh, this is my second aunt, my third. No, this is like my mom's mom, her brother, and her sister. And it was all in the same thing. So it was like, oh my gosh, I'm all the way over here and I can't go to my grandma's funeral. It was just like because my baby didn't have a passport. It was so much. But I mean, eventually we got our passport and stuff like that. I missed the funerals because I just couldn't make it. And that was also hard too. But it's like, I think that's something that comes with traveling. And if you're gone away, like you don't know when people are going to die, but also too, like sometimes you're not able just to drop everything and then go, like maybe you don't always have the opportunity to do that. And I didn't. So it's like the last time got a chance to see my family members I mean, I was on FaceTime with my cousins and stuff for the service. But for the most part, the last time I saw them was the last time I saw them. I wasn't able to like lay them down to rest and stuff. But I mean, I think that may be in the best way. And for the fact that that happened while I was in the desert, you know what I mean? Like, have you been to the Sahara yet?
Mhm.
It's magical there, like in the
Yeah.
desert. I don't know how to describe it. So the fact that my ancestors I feel like I got new ancestors in that space. Like, and it was pretty cool. It was good. But
I'm
Yeah,
sorry for your losses. That's a lot.
that
That's
was
a
a
lot.
lot. I was like, what the hell is going on? It was too much.
But yeah, I think a lot can be said for timing, right? So like you had
Mm-hmm.
this situation with the birth of your daughter where it was just like, okay, she's ready to come out, we have to let her out. And then with
Mm-hmm.
the passing of your family members, everything had to happen in its time and you had no control in any of those situations.
Yes, the word for that whole season was surrender, okay? Because it was like, what could I do? I just had to, and I think that's when I started to like realize that maybe in this life you don't need so much control. I think your ego wants more control, but then you got to realize that it's you, yes, but there's somebody else, like there's still a creator that still has, that can make things happen. And so it's like, even like when I was pregnant, I felt like, because when you having a baby, I feel like you do feel like a god. You feel close, you feel very close to like a god.
Listen, I
You're
say that all the
creating.
time. I say that all the time. I am if I ever have children, I'm the vessel. Okay, I will.
Hello.
The people only, if you believe in God, people only touch God in birth and in death. As a woman,
That's
you
it.
have proximity to the universe, whatever you want to call it, Elohim, Allah, whatever. When you are giving birth,
Mm-hmm.
so we lose so many women during birth.
Exactly.
It is a powerful, powerful thing. Like as a
Mm-hmm.
woman, it is a powerful thing. Your body is powerful.
Right. And that's another thing that I was scared of. Honestly, I was scared to give birth in America because it's like the mortality rate was so high. And I was just like, wait, why is it 1 in 3 women dying in birth is because they're not being advocated for with pain and stuff like that. And I will say, like, when I was in the hospital, like I had like I mean, I stayed in a fantastic hospital. Like I have it on my Instagram. Like it is, I like post pictures and stuff at Disrupt and Jane of what the hospital looked like and like how it was for my C-section. I paid in a hospital stay and they fed me 3 times a day, 1100
To give
for a
birth, really?
C-section. Yes. That's like a $40,000
Really?
surgery out in US. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that I was like, oh, I can have baby and don't have debt, like I paid for it, like that felt pretty empowering. Like, oh, okay, go. I see y'all. And it
Did
felt nice. I had my own suite.
did anyone on your medical team speak English?
Yes, Coco. I had a nurse named Coco. Shout out to Nurse Coco. And also, her name was Monazaki, the one I delivered my baby. She spoke English kind of. And I also have on my YouTube, I do have a YouTube channel, I forgot about that. On my YouTube channel, I do have an interview with her where I talked about kind of like I just asked her some questions about like myths and things and stuff like that. So she spoke English and I still talk to her and we actually had formed a relationship before because I needed to have a minor surgery to like before I had a baby to remove a cyst. And they were like, talk about price gauging, trying to charge me like 700. And then they're like, you need to have it's 700 and you need to do it right now. I'm like, hold up. I don't got $700 right now, brother. Like, what we talking about? So then this was like before I got pregnant. This is like in
So
January
you
before the
can
pandemic.
so this is still in Morocco though. So you can
Mhm.
negotiate price at the hospital?
No, I went to another one because I wasn't playing with her. And it was funny because I when I was looking, okay, online, it was this thing called Dabadoc. Like that's how I found an English speaking doctor. It was called Dabadoc, Dabbadoc. And from there, when I found her, I'm like, oh, okay. It was two Monas. The doctors, two doctors' names Mona. Both of them had practices next to each other. Both of them were GYNs. So I went to the wrong Mona and I'm like, I have an appointment here. She's like, you don't. And I'm like, well, look, can we look? And she's like, girl, that's cyst. You need to remove it right now. And I'm like, okay, well, how much? Like 700. I'm like, let me go find another. Let me go ask another opinion. So then when I went to her, I found another one. I was like, I'm just going to go next door. I'm like, this is GYN. And it was actually the doctor that I was supposed to go to. And I was just like, okay. And she's like, it's not going to be 7, but it's going to be 3. And I'm like, I can do 3. I can do 300.
So like
And then it
during
was just
this
like,
time, did you have health care or were you paying out of pocket?
no, I pay out of pocket. I mean, not like that, but I don't really go to the doctor often. Me, I feel like I go to the doctor with something wrong. Like, and out in Morocco, they're okay with that. Like, even with my daughter, I'm like, I kind of felt bad. My baby girl didn't get vaccinated until 3 years old, and she's still doing it all the way. But I mean, she kind of caught it, but it was just like I was feeling bad because my mom and stuff. They're like, you're not taking her 6 month, her 6 week checkup, her 6 month checkup, her 1 year checkup," and I'm just like, no, nothing wrong with her. And they like,
So they don't do that. So in Morocco, they don't do that. Like they don't give you like milestone checkups or
I think they do, but it's just like I can look at her, she's okay. I think that when you know something's wrong with your child, you go and check it out, but I didn't feel like it was nothing wrong with her. She was okay. She was perfectly fine. So I'm like, what I need to go to a doctor to see? Like, they tell me that everything is okay. Now, when she would get sick, of course, I'll take her to the doctor and I would just pay out of pocket, maybe like anywhere between $30 to $60 for a visit. But how often am I doing that?
I don't have kids, I don't know. But don't they monitor like the growth, right? Like to make sure she's like developed.
Look, they just be giving kids to anybody. I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking. No, but I really don't know. Like, um, when she would get, if she would get catch a cold or something like that, maybe once a year, she would have to go see a doctor. And they'll be like, when they'll take her weight and they'll, or maybe not once a year, maybe she went to the doctor. She had one time where she was just like throwing up. And I'm like, I think my baby allergic to like leafy greens. So, yeah. And I like they weighed her and I'm like, okay, what's happening? She's just like throwing up, look like the exorcist. And they gave her a little shot and stuff. And they like try to stay away from like leafy greens because maybe they're not clean all the way. So, yeah. I was like, oh, and that was it. And that was just it. And I'm like, well, why y'all here? She look okay? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, her weight is good. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, she growing cool. They're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. And I remember I had told this doctor, I was like, how often am I supposed to be coming here? And then she was like, it's up to you. It's your child. And I'm like, I like the answer. And I was like, but am I supposed to be coming at a certain time? She was like, I was like, should I only come to the doctor when she's sick? And she's like, if that's what you want to do. And I was like, I don't got to get her vaccinated. And she's like, not if you don't want to. But when you go to America, it might be a problem. And I'm like, that's true. And she's like, so it might be something you want to consider. Because when you go to America without, like, sometimes if you don't have your child vaccinated, they could essentially say it's like child neglect or child endangerment. So
I didn't
I'm
know
like,
that.
well, me either.
So
I'm like, that's ghetto.
yeah, but I don't know. I don't know anything about. I'm not the authority on anything. So okay, going backwards, like so you found the doctor online basically, and I think you originally said you wanted to have a natural birth. So like, what kind of
Hmm.
planning and preparation went into that, knowing that you're in Morocco? So was it just like, okay, I
Okay.
have to find a doula? You mentioned a
I have found a
midwife.
doula online. And I was doing I had like a virtual doula and I took like a birthing class and it's so random. This girl was doing this like study for her she was doing some study for her like a exam or something. She was doing a case study and she needed to talk about how like pregnant women that were active and healthy tend to have more healthier pregnancies and easier labors and stuff. So she taught me like, is it called lobotom? I don't know.
Us?
Lamaze,
Lama?
yes. Yes. So she would like teach me those techniques and stuff like that, making sure like I'm breathing from my diaphragm versus my chest, because a lot of times when you're pregnant, you notice that your breath comes from your chest. So she was making sure like that. And I would go see her maybe like once or twice a week, and she would like measure my belly and doing things and stuff like that. So I kind of got that for free because she was just doing studies and stuff. And she was also like, that was her major. And Yeah, I would go to like a chiropractor's house, or like a I would this guy had he was a chiropractor, he had an office, and that's where we would go. So she would make me do like fit tests and stuff like that, and like breathing techniques. And they were like telling me, okay, if you eat pineapple and dates, that could help with your pregnancy, walking, sex. So they were like just trying to tell me things to help out to make the baby like the to ensure that the birth is a little bit more like easier. So they're like, you got to eat 7 dates a day. And maybe you should start eating pineapples. Pineapples will help soften your cervix. And I'm just like, okay, okay.
Okay. Do you find that like the treatment was more sort of holistic, or was that something you intentionally sought out?
I think that's what just intentionally found me because I'm more of that. Like, yes, Western medicine and yes, Western stuff, but also like, what about not, you know? And so, I think everything happens like pretty intentional. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. What is there anything that you wish you knew before going to Morocco?
How to speak French or Arabic at least. Like,
Something.
I think that something, I think that would have made me feel a little bit better, and also to like make me have a different kind of friends, like because English is not that close, like English speaking is not that close. Like it's like the third language versus the second, and so I wish that I kind of like spoke another language, and I could always learn, but
There's still
yeah,
time. Listen, there's still
I
time.
know.
Okay. Do you, so now that you've had the experience of giving birth abroad, is there anything like looking back, like if you had to give any woman advice on how to navigate that,
I
what
would
would you
just
say?
say that you may have a birth plan, but God might have a plan. Like, like your birth plan might not be God's plan.
Mm,
So don't feel so attached to how you're going to bring your baby in the world, because I think the reason why I grieve so much is because it's like a killing of my ego. Like my ego wanted to make sure that, oh, I was going to be like one of the first women to have like a water birth at that center. And it was supposed to be like, we were going to like write about it and everything. It was like, it was going to be like a whole thing.
mm,
Um, but it didn't go like that. So I just want to say, like, I would just say that you can have a birth plan, and yes, have a birth plan, but also know that there can always also to be God's plan. So don't really have an attachment to the outcome of how you have your baby, just as long as it's arriving safely and soundly and you're okay. I think it should be okay.
mm, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you?
What's next? Okay, so I'm living in LA now, but I moved back to Morocco in June, and my daughter is there right now with her father. I'm being a guilt-free mom right now, completely working on myself. Um, I'm hoping to secure a remote job. So if anybody's hiring content strategists or data analysis, yes. So that's really it. And honestly, I feel like I want to go back to Nigeria. So I can, hopefully what's next is to go back to Nigeria and then to move back to Morocco at least for like another year.
Mm, to Kidney Travel. Hi, Dr. Linda. She said almost nothing went according to my plan for my first pregnancy. Second pregnancy was so chill. Wasn't the second pregnancy with twins?
Jesus.
She got like 4 kids.
See, I'm scared. I
One
had a
set of
great
twins.
pregnancy. I had a great pregnancy, and the labor wasn't that bad. Well, I mean, I'm sad, but it wasn't, I'm not like, oh my God, it was the worst pain ever. No, 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 no. All
Mm.
that. So I'm scared to have a second kid, though. I ain't gonna lie. My
What
daughter is
about
literally perfect.
that's beautiful. I love that for you. I love that for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Love you
This is not on my
too.
list, but since you mentioned Nigeria, what about Nigeria makes you want to go back?
Kano.
Who?
It's a city, it's an ancient city called Kano. And you can see the cultural ties between Kano and Morocco. Because if you know, they're the Ganawa people, which were the original, like the native people of Morocco before the colonization. The Ganawa players, they came from Kano. And so to see that in real time and to see like, holy crap, I want to go there. And also I have a friend out there. So it's like,
It looks
but I would love,
beautiful.
yeah. It's like known to be like an ancient city of magic, and Marrakesh also like magical. So, um, yeah. And I just enjoyed my time there. I don't really enjoy the electricity, let's say, the
Like the
infrastructure, but
blackouts.
yes.
Yeah,
I don't like that. But that's just me being privileged, you know. I think it's normal. I think it's regular. But it I think they just happen more frequent. And I think that I was just kind of being maybe just I didn't check my privilege at the door.
that's
So
fair. That's
yeah.
fair. The twins were the third pregnancy. My bad.
Jesus.
My bad.
The the C-section, yeah, pushing two out at one time. Ooh,
Um, but thank
blessings.
you so much for being in my channel. I need to stop reading the comments and end the
Yes.
video. Thank you so much for being on my channel. I appreciate your openness and your transparency. Thank you for sharing
Yes.
your story with me. Thank you for crying with me. I love a good
Girl,
release.
I was not
Girl,
expecting that because what?
you gotta let it out sometime. Okay, I cry out. What
It's
sign are you?
I'm a Taurus.
Oh my God. Yvonne said that. That's what she wanted to go back to the food. She literally said, I'm getting Taurus vibes from her. I saw,
Yes. Oh, I wish I could see
where
the
is it? Oh
comments.
my God. Oh, you can't see the comments. Well, hold on. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna pull it up. She's the Taurus in my life. Unfortunately, child. She said, "Can we get back to the group?" She's giving Taurus energy, and I need a good Moroccan food spot list.
Okay, the places that I would recommend in Marrakesh to eat. Number one, I would say La Trattoria. If you can get a spot there, great food. That's my number one spot. Number two, very random, but I would say Bar 68. Bar 68 has good food. Like it's a wine bar, it's a wine cellar, and they have like these oysters there, and
Ooh,
they're fire. Like, and then another place I would say is the street food, obviously. Like, um, it was called this was the bread called. It's my favorite, Miss Simon. Miss Simon. It's that like bread with the honey and cheese. Wherever you find that in the
is
morning,
that what
you
that's
get that.
called?
Yes, yes,
I
you
had
get
some of
that.
that.
Oh, Jesus. How many more minutes? 12,
Listen, the way I want to go back
15.
to Morocco just to eat and get some argan oil, I literally, my friend went there
I
and I was like, girl,
made
I have a
argan
list.
oil. I
You
made
made
argan
it?
oil. Yes, because I was in the souks and I'm just like, how do y'all do this? And I'm like, can you I have a video of it actually. I should post content. So I have a video of me actually making argan oil because I'm like, I wanted to know how it goes. And I'm like, I don't really want to buy it. And you're like, you don't want to buy it. I'm like, no, I want to make it. And they're like, you want to make it? And they're like, it's hard work. They was not lying. We was in there sweating, girl, because the way you gotta like press the oil out and stuff like that, and how, yeah, making argan oil was hard. Oh, but also too, if you had amalu, did you have the amalu?
What is it?
It's like it's like almond oil, honey,
I don't
or
think so.
it's argan oil, almond, and honey or something like that. It's it looks like peanut butter. It's oh my God, it's so good. Amalu, I got some in my house. I might probably go crack that open. It's so good. The
And
food
there's
in
a
Morocco is really
tea,
good.
not the mint tea.
Atai,
There's another tea that I like.
Louisa, Vervain is like kind of like a little bit more leafy and like kind of like more yellowish. It's called Louisa
Ooh, I want to go back to
Vervain.
Morocco just to
Come, I
eat
got an
and
extra
stock
room.
up.
I got a spare room,
Now
so
I
you
know
know.
somebody.
Now you
Exactly.
know somebody.
Now I know
And that was
somebody.
another thing. I used to like host strangers. Like when I would see Americans and stuff on the street and they're like, "You live here?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Okay." Like, what? And they would ask me these questions. I'm like, "Y'all can just come to my house and see what it looked like." And I met a lot of people just by inviting them in my house, and we would just have like dinner and stuff, and they would just come and they're like, "Wow, you have a great apartment." I'm like, "I know, right? I only paid $600 for it."
It could
So
be American in me is saying put that as an Airbnb experience and charge them
I
$300
know
or
exactly.
like or, or
That
like
is
a
my
hundred
next
dollars per
goal.
person.
That is my next goal. Is like I want to invest and get like a rental property because if you know, like in Morocco, the tourism is like y'all go look, if you go research the statistics and stuff, it is literally booming. Like it's one of the countries that came back times 10 from COVID, and like when I just was out there in January because I go frequent often. I go pretty often. And I'm just like, all these English speakers, like, I I wish I would have had this when I was here. Like, like 'cause I think I took like 1 year break from out of Morocco. And then like when I live back in America, I'm just like, this just not for me. It's good for work and you can make some money. You can't save a lot of money, but you can make a little bit of money. But mm-mm. Morocco, and I feel like it's a good place to live. Now, it's not a lot of like, it's not one of those places where it's like Mexico or Lisbon or Costa Rica because those places are like popular and they've been popping with like black expats. But this is a place where I would suggest people that want to move and I can adopt to the culture and adapt and be agile and kind of like if you like fly like like luxury and modesty, like it's the perfect balance because Morocco could really get there and then it really don't have to get there. Like it could be really expensive. Like I've stayed at beautiful spaces that were really expensive, and then I also like stayed at little places that's like holes in the walls and they're like very very cheap. So you can really, however much money you make, you could just find your space in Morocco. And it's a good place to travel because it's right there next to Europe and it's right there next to New York. So it's like if you need to go for a visa run, which they don't be tripping if you don't go on a visa run, you just go pay the court fee for $100. I ain't gonna promote that too
I would
much,
like
but
to say, on the Awkward Black Nomad channel, we do not condone visa runs. And I also, as the host, do not share any of the opinions of my guests. I just have a platform that I bring people on here to share their stories. We are not giving legal advice. I really need to start making like banners.
yeah. But you do have to do a visa run. Like you have to leave the country 90 days. You definitely have to leave every 90 days, which is 4 times a year. And I mean, you people deserve to have a vacation for 4 times a year. Every 3 months, you should be able to take a vacation. You should be able to go somewhere and explore and take a break from life. And I think that that's how people should live their lives and stuff. But in Morocco, when I wasn't leaving every 90 days, they was tripping on me, but they wasn't really tripping. I would just have to pay a fine. I wouldn't recommend doing that more than 3 times. And I wouldn't recommend doing it anyway, but definitely not more than 3 times.
But we have to end it before you say anything else. Thank you, DJ, for coming on the channel. I appreciate you. Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for watching. Like the
Yes.
video, subscribe to the
Mhm.
channel if you are not subscribed, click the notification button so you are notified when I go live. Thank you so much for spending your evening with me. Peace out.
Yes. Peace out. Thank you so much, Key, for having me. And I wish you nothing but success. I'm looking forward to the rest of your interviews. And what you're doing is phenomenal. So keep being the awkward black nomad and traveling with your dogs across Europe. Come to Morocco when you can. I'll be there in June.
Oh, don't give me an invitation in front of these good people, okay? I'll be there.
Listen, come. Marhaba.
Okay.
All right.
Bye,
Thank
girl. Thank
you. Peace
you.
out.